As a fans across the globe, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. I welcome you to this exciting moment once again of interaction and, of course, in depth analysis of events as they continue to unfold. Today, being the 12th of June 2024, marks the Independence Day of the Nigerian state. Of course, after the date was shifted from May 29th to June 12th, in remembrance of late MKO Abiola, who contested for presidential election in 1993, but the outcome of such results was inconclusive, which was annulled by the then head of state, President Badamasi Babangida, citing, of course, some reasons why such becomes inevitable. But Moshood Abiola was one of those politicians who enjoyed the support, solidarity of the masses across board. They voted for him without being coerced, without being intimidated, without being suppressed, without being, of course, marginalized along ethnic, tribal, or religious lines or sentiments. Now, what are we talking today? We're going to review and examine the current realities in Nigeria and making reference to 1993, the state of the nation then, and what is the reality on ground, the double tragedy, the narrow escape, of course, that happens today. All these things of we promises to be very interesting as we continue in this discussion and expository. At this moment, I welcome you once again. What you would do in participation, in collaboration, make sure you share this video. Make sure you hit the like buttons. And of course, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so that the YouTube algorithm can push it so that we'll have more people to join us. It's a moment that you will be, of course, interested not to miss. And of course, your loved ones and your group, WhatsApp or group chats, you should be able to join us in this very interesting moment. The double tragedy. One of the tragedy starting at us as a people is that Nigeria is celebrating independence when they truly know they are not independent. You are claiming you are celebrating Independence Day when you know within you, deep rooted, seated, denial, covering up is that you are not independent. What does being independent mean? Implies to a layman, independence simply means being in control or in charge of your assets, liabilities, your responsibilities, and of course, your commitment to the state. In the light of these current realities, can we truly say that Nigeria is independent? Certain security-wise, you understand that this territorial integrity of the Nigerian state has been compromised, greatly compromised. As it stands now, the integrity of the Nigerian space has been compromised. So what makes you independent? When, as a sovereign nation, you cannot control the immigrants, you cannot control those taken out of the country coming in, you have no concrete database, you have no documentations or profiling even about your citizens, their whereabouts, where they are part time, and of course, their states of livelihood or what they are doing. Then how can you carry out your fiscal and budgetary provisions when you cannot give a compile a basic data over who and who is your citizen, who are immigrants, and who is living where and where part time. You cannot say to be independent. Of today, we saw what Zamfara people has been massacred, brutally massacred, raided over several communities and villages, local governments, and of course, the president, His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, was sending a condolence visit or condolence message to the entire Zamfara people and those who lost their loved ones. How long can that continue? And you said just in less than 48 hours, this happened. People were massacred, were killed, were brutally, I mean, annihilated. Look at in Borno State, the Islamic State of the West African province are challenging the sovereignty of the Nigerian state and that of the defense headquarters. That if you dare us, if you know where we are, this is the location we are part time. Why not come there? Let's face it together, man to man. Double tragedy. Now, what informs that independence? Is it something one should be happy about? Is it something one should rejoice? Is it a sign of development? Is it any heave or sign of relief? Starting 1993, after the annulment of that election, that would have, of course, seen MK Abiola becoming the president of Nigeria or the president elect, but that was aborted. During those days, Nigerians can still have access to milk as the basic source of protein. During those days, 1993, about 30 or 3 decades ago, Nigerians felt better. There was no killing, there was no invasion of communities, there was no raiding of communities. The herdsmen class was never the order, was never imagined as of those days. That's why, despite the Muslim ticket that produced MKO Abiola as the popular candidate or preferred candidate across the Nigerian regions, ethnic nationalities, they voted for MKO Abiola overwhelmingly, despite the Muslim ticket. What does that tell you? That prior to this time, Nigeria have not experienced such decline, such abysmal decline in security, in economic, and of course, in the general well-being and welfare of Nigerians. It has become more worse, raised to power of 30, because each year passing by, Nigeria is decaying the more. There is decadence, moral decadence, societal vices taking over the space. You see crime and criminality on the rise, on the increase. You see hunger and starvation. You see people frustrated, people taking their lives. I have never seen this all through my lifetime. What is happening in Nigeria in the last decades or close to a decade now is something that is unimaginable. The number of persons that have been killed, and yet it appears that nothing is happening. The unfortunate thing is that we have not seen the worst. If less than 48 days to the Independence Day, Nigerian citizens or people resident within Nigeria, in Zamfara, in Borno, can be massacred in such a manner, you begin to ask, where is the government? You cannot talk of being independence except there is a government. And you cannot claim there is a government if the government is not committed to the welfare, to the protection of life and property. That is the very essence of government. The governed that have reposed much confidence on the governors or the elective leaders, have entrusted them with the enormous responsibility, being empowered by the Constitution. It becomes an obligatory function that must be delivered under any circumstances. No excuse. There's no amount of excuse that could be given by any government that could justify the loss of life under your watch, the loss of properties. People are being displaced in their homes and communities, fleeing the shores of the ancestral homes. We have internally displaced persons scattered all over the regions of this country. Insecurity, anarchy is being entrenched. And you begin to ask, where is the government? Where is the arsenal? Where is the instrumentality of the states that has the constitutional obligation to protect lives and property of the citizens? These are fundamental questions. Not until this is addressed, we might not get to begin to appreciate the deep mess everyone is trapped in, especially within the Nigerian space. Where is the primary function of governments? Who are those saddled with the responsibility of protecting life and properties? And what excuse are they giving for the failure to protect lives and properties of the citizens? People are being massacred, including children, innocent children, who has not committed any atrocity against anyone, just only on the basis that they found themselves within Nigeria. And the government can make excuses why those children should not be protected. Why they fail repeatedly to protect lives and properties of the Nigerian people. The double tragedy is that those who know that they are not independent, they have not attained that nationhood, they have not any defined ideology or national ideology. You cannot be garbaging in and garbaging out and think you have a different result of just less than 1 week or so, or less than 2 weeks, the former national anthem was discarded. I watched with utter dismay during the marching parades or salutes in honor of Democracy Day. I never saw the mouths of those top hierarchies moving. I was keenly watching at them closely. They don't even know the national anthem. It was just the help of the piano and all that that provides the sound. So what is that telling us? Where is that patriotism? Where is that commitment? Where is that service? All is missing, double tragedy. And to an average Nigeria, the streets of Nigerian states were not colored. If it were to be 1993 or early 2000, you will see people buying national flag as a symbol of dignity, as a symbol of nationhood. People have not seen money to buy Gary. Come on, Gary. Gary was one of the poorest, or assumed to be one of the poorest foods in the land. Likewise, beans. This was regarded as a poor man food. Why? Because it is accessible. It is something that you can come by. It is something, even with the little resources within you, you can make up something for the family. But today, they are totally out of the reach of average Nigerians. People are complaining. A derica of beans is between 1,800 to 2,000 as of now. A pint of Gary is within 3,700 to 4,000. And this is a cup of Gary. There are families that cannot afford to sip Gary, ordinary Gary. They don't even know how to go about it in a democracy. Well, let me just be candid about that. There are people who don't know. This is Gary. Even if this people that could afford even the yellow Gary now, there is no difference between yellow and white Gary. They are costly. How are people surviving? This would have been a moment of sober repression, a moment of deep pain, a moment of agony for the ruling class, for failing humanity, for failing the entire human race, failing themselves, their generations, and everything that represents humanity. With all vast arable lands, Nigerians are hungry, not because they choose to be hungry, not because they are lazy, because of the insecurity that is rocking the entire country. The survivors of today could be the victims of tomorrow. The victims of today were once survivors of yesterday. Everyone is just left at the mercy of the nature. Everyone to himself, God for us all. If you're dull, let the devil take you. There's no conscientious attempt by the government and the ruling class to fix the nagging pains, issues, burden on our collective existence. How long can this continue? You know that you are not independent. These are just security and economic wise. And if there is no security in the land, in any sovereign state, there is no economic growth. There is no economic vitality. There's no vibrancy. Everything is in comatose. Everything is moribund. Just imagine Guinness is now leaving the shores of Nigeria. Now, which company, multinationals is left? You know what that means? Tens of thousands of Nigerians will return back to the streets. We lose their job. And you are celebrating independence? I mean, what the hell is this? What a madness. What the hell is this? People, your supposed citizens, are losing their jobs. International multinationals are living with the speed of light. Some relocated to Ghana, Gambia, these small African countries. And you don't know the implication? You don't know the consequences of that? That more Nigerians will be impoverished, more hunger on the land, more families will become desperate and destitute in their own country, in the country they call their own. What a shame. And those who call themselves the ruling class are still parading themselves with the security outlays attached to them. They think that all for them is well, but they're just building an army of resistance who will one day descend on them as locusts descends on a tree and eat up the tree. You can't continue to make people hungry. You are not addressing that very needs of the people, the basic needs of the people are not being catered for. Attentions are not being given to that. There was no conscious or deliberate attempt to resolve or attempt to solve those problems. You are marking democracy. No wonder Fela of blessed memory said is demon crazy. That is demon crazy. He said it when even there was still hope. When you can get, you know how much is a tin of milk now? Before, I remember those days in 90s, my parents would go and buy a carton of pig milk. In fact, those days, I never knew that 3 crown, what they call 3 crown, then part of the substitute of milk was even meant for humans. Because I saw where in the neighborhood where they are using it to feed dogs. It was when I realized that human being can still take 3 crowns. Oh, sorry to say that that is my observation. But none of this makes are affordable for the masses of this country. Then, if beans, a delicacy of beans is 2,000, tin milk, ordinary tin milk now will shock you. The last time I bought it, was it 1.6 or so? I don't know, even know the current price. I don't even care to know. Because of the prevailing inflections, and even the money is not easy to come by. You don't have any. How do you make the money, let alone considering inflation? And even when you have the money, it is useless. Its value is almost useless. The purchasing power is no longer there. How do people survive? This should have been a moment. Instead of the president to celebrate, this would have been a moment to call or declare state of emergency. Why are you gathering people to celebrate? What part of the second tragedy, you saw the president's, of course, slide off the podium, and thank God, well, he did not sustain any injury. That would have been another calamity. But does people even care about whatever happens to the president? Because to the majority of the populations, his presence is not felt. And even his absence could mean nothing to them. That is the truth about it. You may not want to agree with me, well, until you sample the opinions of the masses. I met a young man on my way home. He was shouting, "Ebim Pami, Ebim Pami." A very young man in his productive age. Nothing happened to him. But the reality, you only see work before you work. I mean, compared to the ratio, the population of this country, to the ratio of people who are unemployed, it is alarming. If you're employed and you are still seeing something, you should thank God, because it is a real opportunity. Millions are strolling the streets. Millions are desperate. People are looking for what to do, but nowhere. Then what do they do? And this western part of the country, you see people joining Abru, tout, collecting of money, because is the easiest way of making and keeping their body, soul, and spirit together. So what can the government do is the fundamental issues. We have strayed, of course, and have laid down a very good foundation that it is an aberration. It is abnormal to celebrate independence when Burkina Faso, there is a movement by the government of Burkina Faso to deliberately sponsor the citizens and fund the citizens to go back to agriculture production. The money, rather than using the money to buy ostentatious cars, SUVs, he used those money to buy tractors. These are people who have insight. These are people whose creativity, whose think tank cap is still on with them. Of what use do we spend so much money procuring, advancing other people's business, economy, and why your own economy is in shambles, why your own economy is dead, decaying, stinking? Burkina Faso introduced mechanized agriculture, empowered the youth, give the youth incentives to go to agriculture. And you know what that means? The chain of production will create more jobs for the people. Meaningfully engaging the population of the Burkina Faso. And of course, that will also affect the positive returns and performance of the government, because there will be less burden on the government. There will be less crime when people are gainfully employed. So fighting crime and criminality is not a rocket science. When the government has failed to do the needful, they are inviting anarchy, they are inviting catastrophe, they are inviting distortion. It is not me that is saying it, but that is the truth. Whether you like it or not, you can decide to live in denial. Go and look at Burkina Faso, what that young man is doing, prioritizing the welfare, the progress of the masses, of the citizens, against selected few. But that is the reverse. The reverse is the case when Nigeria is brought under, is brought into the equation. You see, what is happening is the reverse. The Nigerian state can borrow money to buy SUVs, to buy bulletproofs, to increase the allowances of the legislation, the judiciary, and their political cronies at the expense of the states. And the masses will be levied to be paying those money that was expended on just less than 1,000 people. Several tens of millions or hundreds of millions of Nigerians will be subjected to such double taxation. Everything is being taxed. Even the air you breathe is being taxed. The call you make is being heavily taxed. The food you buy is being taxed. What else? How can Nigerians breathe? It's quite unfortunate that the crop of leadership, of course, in Nigeria does not foster any better prospects. Look at Burkina Faso, they are moving forward. Niger, ordinary Niger Republic, they have realized themselves, they have come to self-realization. And they said, no, we have to move forward. What does that tell us? Just in a simple sentence that Nigerian future is bleak. When you have people who are not committed, only making propagandas, you don't govern by propagandas. Propagandas are only made for election times, unfortunately, but that is what is destroying the Nigerian state today. Now, how can you expect people to continue to believe, to have confidence in the Nigerian state or in the Nigerian project? Ask people, sample opinion and tell them happy. Nobody even is telling you happy independence there. So which kind of independence? What kind of independence? Where it is almost impossible for over 60% of the population to afford Gary. Just excuse me. That's what I'm sipping. And that will be for lunch. In any case, I also thank God for the provision because not everybody could afford to sip Gary in Nigeria as it stands now. There are people who, throughout the day, cannot afford this. See the number of persons begging on the streets of Nigeria. Or is it not yet time for this political elite to tell themselves the truth? That they are inviting great disaster, anarchy, army of resistance. People are giving up about Nigeria. Just sample opinions and that will shock you. If the citizens can say what and why should we celebrate which decant democracy, what does that tell you? The existence of Nigeria in their hearts has been eroded. The militaries, even the security operatives are not left. You see some military personnel, the police, also begging. No wonder they indulge in several crimes. There was one that went viral where the police extorted one UK base, or was, I think, something like that, whether he was killed or something, and they discovered the phone was with a policeman or something like that. I came across such news, but how many will you read? The rate of crime and criminality is something that you cannot fathom where this is coming from. But the root of all this evil stems from the irresponsibility on the part of the ruling class, those who are the leaders, who call themselves the rulers, those who make policies and control the commonwealth of the masses. Now, it has become a subject of debate for more than a year plus to improve on the salaries of the Nigerian workers. But it does not take more than 48 hours upon assuming office as the president, the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Tinubu increased the allowances and salaries of the legislatures, of the judiciaries, without any consultation. Give them jumbo consideration, juicy considerations. Approved SUVs. I mean, you begin to ask, and that of his political elites expand the portfolios, ministerial portfolios, to accommodate his own people and people who is his political allies, who we believe, of course, to have part of the national cake, not considering the overbearing burden on the scarce resources or the availability of the resources. Rather than cutting down the cost of governance, you expanded it. And what that means, you need to borrow more, you need to tax the people, they need to work, labor until they die, and it's finding it difficult to approve basic minimum wage. Basic minimum wage. How much is the minimum wage of an average Nigerian? They say they could approve 62,000. How much is 52,000 if converted to dollar today? If an average worker in Nigeria can be working 8 hours a day, which means in other standard society, America, Canada, and all that, if you work just for 4 hours, you have covered the entire salaries of a Nigerian worker it, within the cycle of 30 days. You have covered it and have more change. Isn't that dehumanizing? And yesterday, the ex-president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, made a very terrible submission. We cannot continue to build a Nigeria where the political exposed persons, children, are spreading dollars on parties, where the children of our Nigerian politicians are spreading dollars in birthday parties, in nightclubs. These are hard-earned money. that would have been evenly distributed, used to create jobs, used to create infrastructures that will engender productivity, that will create jobs, that will absorb the teeming populations of Nigeria, which are predominantly youths, school leavers. You have graduates roaming the streets in their millions. They are being turned out on yearly basis. No preparation, no any deliberate attempt to absorb them and tap their resources, give them an opportunity to work and earn a living. But you see those politicians, children, who has never sweat, who don't even understand what is sweat, because they have enough to throw out. They have enough to show up from the looted treasury. The senators, the governors, and the ministers, the presidents, everyone looting. No wonder the children could have enough to show to the world that they have gathered enough. They don't consider whatever consequences that might be or how the people feels. If you are not smart, you will remain dull. It's quite unfortunate. But he said, of course, Nigeria cannot continue like that. I agree with him 100%. Those who think that the sufferance of the masses will be perpetual, those who think that the agony they have caused on the masses will remain indefinite, the oppressions and suppressions cannot remain forever. Time is coming, and it's not quite very far from now, when the children of the oppressed will rise against the oppressors or their seed, and then there will be no place to hide. Because the evil days, the pains and agonies you have caused them and their family, their fathers, will be remembered. Everyone may not be spared, but the reality is that revolution is coming. It might come in either ways, either by the masses of this country rising to revolt against this injustice, against this marginalization or suppression, or the sustained agitations across the regions for secession will be intensified. People will pull out. People will decide to pay whatever sacrifice that will demand to put out from the country called Nigeria. Because as it stands now, everyone is in Bwese. Everybody is in Bwese. I remember those days after my graduate, my youth, okay, during my youth service, you can't imagine people that serve Nigeria. And nothing left for them. But you have people who wangled and found themselves within the corridor of powers. In less than 1 year in office, they become multi-billionaires. Those days, because of the stipends that was given, that is being dished out by the federal government, I think was the Alawi then, this Corpus Alawi, or whatever you call allowance or whatever you call it, then was around 9,000 plus. It's around 9,006 or 700. So with that, we'll manage. What we do, especially the young guys, is to go and buy beans. Once you receive the allowance, you go and buy two pint of beans. And what we do those days, what I'm telling you is just 2009 stroke 10. What we do is to go and buy beans, and we wait during the late hours when there will be light. You use your boiler and boil the beans. Survival strategy. You know, with that 9,000, then you can get 2 pints of beans and probably some delicacies of rice, and still have something to transport or something to get one or two things that will help you for 2 or 3 weeks before becoming broke. I mean, that is extreme discipline. If you're extremely disciplined with a little whatever may be coming from your place of primary assignment, you add up just to manage yourself, to start yourself very well. You won't be thinking of buying any new wares, clothes, or whatever, doing any project. What, in fact, you are just finding means to survive. And after all this rigorous process, you come out, there is no job anywhere. Of course, those who are not patient could also create one for themselves. Kidnapping has become one of the lucrative and more, of course, a booming business in Nigeria. I don't encourage anyone to go into drugs and kidnapping, because you don't fight crime with crime. But people have been pushed to the wall, and there is no option left for them than to seek way of survival, regardless whether that will cost life, will constitute nuisance, which leads to the detriment or to the death of anyone. It doesn't matter. It is quite unfortunate. How do we go from here? As I rightly pointed out, if the government of Nigeria cannot protect the citizens of the country, how long will you continue to send condolences to the deceased families, to the bereaved families? Were you elected to be the president of condolence, Mr. Condolence? You ordered the security. Where are the security? Where were they before these people were overrun? We attacked. Several occasions there have been letters, there have been informations, intelligence gathering that these people will be coming, they will be overrun. But the government and the security agencies will wait until they unleash the mayhem. People are being killed, people are being destroyed, including children. Mothers are being raped, daughters are being raped and killed. And you come and tell us that the perpetrators will be brought to book. Which of the books? How many of these perpetrators have been brought to book in the last 9 years of APC administration? Who is deceiving who? Of course, you don't need to tell the masses. They already know that Nigeria has failed. The government of Nigeria has failed to protect life and property of the citizens. They knew that, and they are convinced about that. There's nothing pretending about that. But how long will this continue? The ravaging beast, the ISWAP, the Boko Haram from the north, and of course, those who believe that they have to chart their own way for their life, for the life of their people. They have to preserve their own posterity because their safety and that of their posterity is no longer guaranteed within the entity or contraction called Nigeria. And they're very serious about that. They are not joking. They are not messing with. They are not playing about that because it is about life. It is a serious business for them. It is something that they must not fail to achieve. That is where the freedom, the true independence lies. When you're able to preserve and conserve your inalienable rights to life, to expression, to movements, which have been greatly hampered, if not usurped or abrogated within the Nigerian states. People are no longer free to move from the north to east, from the east to the north, from the east to the west, from the west to the north, without being, without having fear of being apprehended, kidnapped, or butchered. What the hell is happening? So you don't celebrate democracy. You don't celebrate democracy because the injustice that MKO Abiola fought or protested against has become a monster today. Even in the electionary process, people are not given the opportunity to choose who becomes their leader. These are the same people who fought against the military, using, hiding under the umbrella of Nadeco or whatever. They fought. They protested against the military. That in the democracy is the way forward. Democracy. Now, good morning. What are you now doing with the democracy? You fought the military, that the military junta will stop and hand over to civilians. Are we having civilians now? How has Nigerians fared with the civilians? Now people are begging for a return of Sani Abacha's regime, military junta. Where is the humanity in us? They felt better during Abacha's time, referring to Abacha era. To be paradise on earth compared to what is. Of course, I will agree with them because I'm not just. I, I can reason. I understand life then to some extent. I think I was in, is it secondary school, junior class or thereabout? Yes, when Abacha died. But the day he died was, I think I was sitting for one external exam or so. Yes, I think 1998 or thereabouts. But people are still referring to his days as the best of Nigeria. What does that mean? The future is bleak. There have been abysmal decline, retrogression instead of being progressive. Nigeria is progressive in retrogression. There is no rule of law. There is no regard for the fundamental rights of the people. The judiciaries have been compromised. Of course, people have lost total confidence in the judicial system, in the electoral system, even the legislatures. See what is going on, where animals are being preferred to human lives, where a serving House of Rep told the world that that is how God has made it. That the life of even the herdsmen and every other Nigerian is less than that of cows. God will never forgive those who amalgamated Nigeria, who brought Nigeria together. God not going to forgive you, I bet you. He's not going to forgive you now. Who brought Nigeria, saying Nigeria, he amalgamated Nigeria as one. God go punish you now, punish your generation. If you not do anything to correct this error that have brought shame, distortion, agony, wailing, weeping on the masses, defenseless masses of this country, who has lost their voice or whose voice has been swallowed. But there is a God in heaven who hears the cry of the oppressed, who knows a way, who is a very present help in time of need. That has been our confidence, nothing more. We are trusting him for his salvation because he said, those who trust and hope in his salvation will not be ashamed. The masses are intimidated. People are not allowed to protest or express themselves so that the government will understand where they are working or where they needed to work or improve. But they don't want that. Nobody to talk to them. They don't care whatever you feel or whatever you think. The stuttering my foot can go to hell. Everyone can go to hell provided my interest is protected. Yes, everyone can go to hell, not just the masses. You might be the next if the right thing is not done. Well, I'm not scolding anyone. I'm not trying to, of course, be rude, but the reality is something you cannot deny. It's not staring at us. Well, let's know what is your own opinion regarding this and many more, of course, through via the comment section. And let's see how we go from there. Don't forget to hit the like buttons. This interaction continues hereafter. Of course, if you're happy with what is happening in this country, then you know that there is no humanity in you. Unfortunately, some are. Some are still making excuses for the failure, for the gross failure of this administration. Not just this administration, but it has been compounded under this current administration. I mean, the administration of APC. Of course, well, that could be positive for those who are calling for the restoration of the Biafran state. To them, of course, Biafra or nothing else. They have crossed the Rubicon, and of course, you may have reasons to agree with them with what is happening with the latest development. You may not, of course, at this time, try to think they are mischievous. No. But they call it the boldness to come out to say, no, we can't continue with this. We cannot die unfulfilled. We have better lives. There are ways to, of course, to contribute meaningfully to the lives of humans. So how long can we be trapped in this state of motionless and despair? In a deep depression, where you sample the opinions of the masses, people are depressed. Even when Fela once sang that Nigerians are suffering and smile, it is a lie. During Buhari time, we are told that over 130 million Nigerians are living below poverty line, are extremely poor. That was then. Do you know what is happening now? Over 95% of Nigerians have joined them. It's just less than 2% who are enjoying the treasure of this country. It is quite unfortunate, and they don't care what the masses feel, as if they are not humans. If they were to be in the shoes of the masses who are suffering, some families can't pay school fees again. Their children have dropped out of school. You don't have to blame the institutions or the owners of these proprietaries or proprietors of these schools, because they need to have funding to run the school. They need to pay the teachers. They need to do other things. I mean, procurements of school uniform and all that, textbook, everything has escalated. Are we in hell? Would there be any worse hell than this? Well, only time will tell. But whatever is happening today, nobody they laugh again. People are not laughing. People are not laughing. The level of destruction is too much. How do we go from here? How do people survive? How do families survive? Somebody working in Ireland has to stop his job because the transportation alone in 3 weeks empties whatever he receives in the cycle of 30 days. He said, no, I cannot continue with it because the depression, it is killing him. It's better he drop that. And in fact, it's better he stay at home, know that it's not working. Because the money you spend within 3 weeks covers whatever salary you are expecting. So, of what use is that? What I leave you with this, of course, to make your own decision. And of course, you can make your findings and also comment on this. But it's quite unfortunate. Double tragedy. This is a double tragedy and dilemma. It is quite unfortunate. If opinions are sampled today, if referendum is conducted, who and who want to remain in Nigeria? Nobody will leave the flag of Nigeria. More than 90% will decide otherwise. That is the truth of the matter. If you doubt me, give it a trial. Thank you once again for being part of this interaction, this moment. Don't forget to hit the like buttons, give us a thumbs up, and remain blessed until we come your way in subsequent edition. We've come to the end of this broadcast this morning. Until we come your way in subsequent edition. I remain Chigos Ndebo. Bye for now.